Hello, everyone. My name is James Williams. I'm the Director of Programs here at the Mobile Ecosystem Forum, and a very warm welcome to another live webinar here at MEF. MEF members have many ways of interacting with other members and indeed the wider ecosystem, and live webinars is just one of the many ways to do so. We have live MEF events. Indeed, I had the pleasure of hosting our first one last week over in Kuala Lumpur, looking at the whole area of mobile content and payments. And it would have been remiss not to have included messaging somewhere in there, and indeed I did. The topic of business messaging runs and runs. It's a very, very much a growing area, and it's something that is of great importance to MEF members. Many of you joining may have never heard of MEF before. We've been around 20 plus years. We are a global not-for-profit trade body across the whole area of mobile. We operate across 6 ecosystems, and our largest ecosystem in terms of member interest as well is the area of enterprise communications, in simple language, business messaging. Many of the leading players of business messaging have joined MEF and are part of the active discussions, which are reserved for MEF members only. And one of the most recent joining members is Clickatel, the global business messaging powerhouse. And it's a great pleasure to welcome Simon Ninekin, who is the VP of Product Partnerships. Hi, Simon.
Hi there, James. How are you doing?
Yeah, great, thank you. Good to see you from sunny South Africa. And also joining us is Justin Williams, who heads up the sales side of things in North America for Clickatel. Hi, Justin.
James, good morning from Salt Lake City, Utah. So
we're global here, as always, with MEF. We've got it covered. So the topic today is a rather vast and varied one. Really, we'll be looking at the whole area of business messaging across the USA. The USA, for those of us who have been in the industry for many years, is a really, really hot area of business messaging. SMS, business SMS volumes, what we call A2P, application to person SMS volumes, are huge. But of course, there is a plethora of other mobile digital channels available for businesses and organizations of any shape, size, and form to interact with their clients. And indeed, don't forget, team members too. And we're going to be talking about the whole, excuse me, the whole area of business messaging in the USA. And to get us going, I call upon Simon. I think you've got a presentation ready for us.
Yes, I do. Let me share screen. Okay. All right. Just a little bit about Clickatel. We're considered a leader in chat commerce today, and we have a profitable business providing services in 220 territories around the world. We send about 9.5 billion messages annually, translating to 631 million business transactions. And this we've built up with experience, 20 years of global B2B experience.
Simon, sorry for interrupting you. We can't see your screen at the moment.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem. You carry on doing that. Justin,
okay.
While Simon gets us ready, Justin, can we just move to you, because you're based in the US. Oh, here we go. Yes,
there we go.
In business. Yay, go for it, Simon.
Thanks, Simon, for saving me on that one.
Yeah, yeah, more coffee, Justin. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry about that.
No problem.
So as I was saying, Clickatel's been around since the advent of A2P messaging. We were there when it started. Very, very successful startup. In many ways, we still consider us a startup, revolutionizing and moving with the trends. And we've sort of pioneered what we call chat commerce. Just to let those who didn't know, we were the first company in the world to deploy a bank on WhatsApp, and also the first company in the world to deploy a telco on WhatsApp with full commerce transaction capabilities. And we service more than 10,000 customers globally across a variety of verticals. I think a lot of people, for those who are not familiar with chat, will maybe ask the question, well, why did we pivot to around chat? Why business messaging? And I think the first very important point I'd like to bring is that chat presents a 7.7 billion total market. And if you think of the internet, around 4.7 billion users, chat is just really the place where the future of commerce is going to take place. Customers of today, we see companies deploying new digital transformation strategies. Some of them have not even started the journey. They're still in the planning and strategic phase. One thing that has changed is the customers. Customers want to be served where they are. And with more and more customers installing chat apps on their phones and engaging with their brands via chat, they want to be served with good user journeys, good customer experience, and be delighted. And they want to sort of, if I would say, dictate their own customer experience, not being told how to contact a brand, etc. They want to have the convenience, and you can see on the right-hand side here, popular global messaging apps, WhatsApp being very, very predominant. We've had lots of success across WhatsApp deployment, and the US is a prime market for the development of business messaging. Yeah. So an interesting stat is that 83% of customers expect immediate engagement after they contact a brand. And I think that's very, very important, is that there's the expectation of consumers as we move forward in business. Customers really want to be contacted and be serviced when they contact a brand. And I think that's a very vital point today. There's changed. The days of sort of sending email where you have to wait for a long, sort of a 24-hour response. Customers maybe checking into a flight, want to get their boarding pass delivered to them in chat and where they are.
Simon, you just touched on
yes.
That alone is a super important point, because there's been so much research done globally by organizations asking consumers what is the most valuable thing to them. And people always come back and think, oh, it's a high level of customer service, it's this, it's that. But actually, it's the most basic thing in the world, and it's their time. They value their time the most. So that is absolutely spot on. And anything we as an industry can do to accelerate the ability of organizations to speak, to converse with their customers, has to be a win.
Yeah, very correct, James. I actually, you put the cherry on the cake there. I think there's one thing that we can't get back in our daily lives is time. Right? Yeah. An hour spent calling a call center is an hour lost in productivity or something else. And the convenience of chat allows consumers to get back time that belongs to them. Right? Brands are there to serve customers, there to deliver delightful products. And really, chat is just a convenient way in which to solve some of these long waiting times in call centers, or would be it some other sort of customer support engagement channel.
So in addition to that, I think one of the things too that you guys both mentioned, two important things. Convenience, I think, is everybody wants their time back, right? It seems like we're all incredibly busy. One of the things that I think alongside convenience that goes to that 83% number is shoppers are also engaged by loyalty and reward programs that retailers offer, right? They love the coupons, they love the rewards, they love the discounts, and mobile shopping apps, it gives them the ability to be able to do that. And I think that's why you see mobile commerce growing at such an exponential rate, faster than I think anybody thought that it would grow at, because that convenience, the ability for them to shop right then and right there and transact, is incredibly important.
And in fact, that is what omnichannel is all about. So we across the industry talk about omnichannel communications, and that word first came up in the Harvard Business Journal about 10 years ago now. I think it's 12 years ago now. Yeah, it's 2023, so it's 2010. And it was actually used in association with a future scenario of what a possible retail environment could look like. And guess what? That future scenario is now reality today, because it brings in QR codes into play. It brings in conversational commerce and chat, email, SMS, all the other channels we'll be talking about today into play as well. So what was thought about as being the future a decade ago is reality.
Yeah, and to just touch on the point about, you know, so omni-channel being, you know, part of one's strategy today for most brands, to reach, and because you have customers on a variety of devices, some consumers on Android or Apple, but just another important point around the customer experience journey, is that more than half of consumers will quit doing business with a company as a result of bad support experience. So that's quite important, is that retaining customers, winning customers, and that customer retention aspect, designing delightful consumer journeys is the way that brands are going to be serving customers today and in the future. Already are, at least.
Yeah.
Well, and that brings us to what you said, James. I mean, you got a plethora of channels out there, and for consumers today, brands don't make it easy. Those who don't have a clear strategy, a clear marketing strategy, and the right customer touch points, it's kind of hard for the consumer out there. How do they know where to go? Do they log into the mobile app? You know, do they call the call center? Do they log a ticket first and get a reference? You know, it can be really confusing. And this is why it's so important that chat is front and center and is part of any digital strategy or digital transformation journey that a customer is about to embark on. You know, so something about call centers is that 75% of customers, they feel frustrated after talking to a call center agent. Customers don't want to be kept on hold and be transferred around. They don't want to be hung up or repeat themselves. How many times have any of us sort of dialed a 1-800 number, or and gone right down the IVR journey, only to land at a dead end? That's not great for conversion, retention, and at the end of the day, you might have customers, not staying with the brand just because of the bad consumer journey.
I think that, Simon, just to kind of touch on that point a little bit on the call center things, I think you see call centers, I think they realize that. And one of the things that and we do an incredibly good job here at Clickatel is the chatbot part of things, right? I mean, it's actually one of the latest trends in mobile commerce is the integration of chatbots into mobile applications or websites, because chatbots essentially they're enabling brands to reach and engage with customers in real time, and it's alleviating that burden on the call centers where it's taking so long, 2 and 3 and 4 minutes before the call center people can actually engage. So the chatbots, and that's one of the things that I believe we do incredibly well here at Clickatel is developing that chatbot, so we alleviate that burden or that frustration that the customer has of waiting online. I mean, I think we can all, I think it resonates. We sit there and we listen to this music in the background and it drives us absolutely insane. And if we can just have a conversation with a chatbot, we can get a lot of the questions answered that we need to have answered. And subsequently, if we have the ability to say, hey, we want a live agent, then great. We choose that, we select that, and that's what we want to do. But by and large, that chatbot alleviates a lot of that frustration that you're talking about within the call center environment.
I have to say that technology has come on in absolute leaps and bounds in the past couple of years. So I really think you look back 3-4 years ago, and when you saw a chatbot, hello, my name is Mylena, how can I help you? It's like, oh gosh, your heart sank, because you knew it wouldn't actually serve you practically and allow you to be able to actually deal with the majority of situations you may find yourself in. But today, it's a very, very different proposition, and the technology has absolutely leapt on. And
You know,
it's moved
and
forward so much. And it's really good, actually, most of it.
it is. And if you look at the leaders in that, it happened to actually be eBay, Nike, and H&M. They do a fantastic job with the chatbots, and the way that they've developed it. I mean, you know, we've got listeners out there, and you can go and look at their sites. And, you know, if you have interest in what Clickatel's been doing, happy to have that conversation with you as well. But if you just kind of look at the innovation of chatbots, the AI-based chatbots, they've done a fantastic job, and it's really alleviated the burden. And they built it in such a way that the data that our mobile apps and the data that we collect, or the data that's collected on who we are as consumers, and the ability for the chatbots to be able to interact with us and have conversations relevant to who we are as a buyer, as a buyer of that organization, that information is relevant back to us. Where if you look at email, you know, 10 to 15 years ago, and even still today, to some degree, how often do we create, or did we create, junk email accounts? Because the information that was being sent to us, you know, if I'm a sports enthusiast and I'm having Tupperware sent to me, it's not relevant. It doesn't resonate. And now with mobile applications and the ability for the data to be collected on who we are as consumers in the background, the shopping experience, the digital experience in the customer journey now becomes meaningful. It becomes authentic, and it becomes real to who we are as consumers. And if businesses are doing a good job in evolving and attracting the right technology, because you either evolve or you don't, then I think that's the difference in how their business proceeds and moves forwards, and the new revenue that they glean from that is the ability to relate with who we are as people, and what we want to buy when we come to their sites.
And Justin, you mentioned the topic, well, you mentioned the brand Nike amongst others there. And we had a previous webinar here at MEF looking at the whole area of the metaverse and NFTs and things like that. And actually, when it comes to consumer loyalty, and that topic was raised by yourselves earlier in this webinar, that this is actually where the metaverse and NFTs and things can actually come in, and brands exactly like Nike are jumping all over this. So who knows, in the next handful of years, we might find ourselves, when it comes to the world of customer support, actually in the metaverse, because any technology out there that can soften the experience, because we all go into a customer support scenario, especially if something bad has happened and something hasn't worked. I had it yesterday. I've got one of my car tires is basically out of service, couldn't drive my car. Was expecting the mobile tire fitter to come around an hour before, and I've been waiting 3 days because I've got a very specific tire. Waiting 3 days, told the appointment's cancelled, the fitter can't make it, your next appointment is in 5 days. My heart sank. I thought, oh my gosh, I've got to ring this contact center. But actually, do you know what? They answered very, very fast, which is very rare in this day and age. So traditional voice as well, let's not forget, that does actually have a positive role to play as well, but done properly. This is the point. Whatever channel it is, as long as people get a fast response, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agreed.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen, for that. And just to round up the point around you know, IVRs and those journeys. You know, from a study that was done by our colleagues at Vonage, only 3% of customers reported only enjoying IVR technology. Yeah, there's still a lot of frustration in there. And I think the key thing, James, is that voice is okay to be included as part of a strategy, but it's there to augment and support all the other channels. So they've got to be neatly coupled and brought together in the right way. All right, and you know what we had said earlier is that you know, a branded mobile app, you know, I think it's very clear in the world today we've got app fatigue. There are so many people that have just got too many apps that are installing, sorry, not installing, that are being installed on phones by users, and really, you know, apps have to be updated and so on and so forth. But in terms of apps being installed, messaging or chat apps form the predominance of new apps being installed on phones today. And really you're seeing a plethora of users being concentrated around social and messaging apps. And when you have the core base of your customer base being reachable on social and chat apps, certainly that bodes well for the business messaging industry. And interesting stat here by Gartner is that they predict by 2025, 80% of service organizations will abandon their native apps in favor of business messaging. And that's quite an interesting stat coming out from Gartner. So the nice thing about customers already, what brands need to realize today is that customers are already on the channel that is working. Most people are using iMessage or WhatsApp. They're using it between friends and family, and the leap for the customer is a small one. I say leap, but in inverted commas. Just the other day I was using, I flew in my holidays to Johannesburg, and perfectly used, was able to use an airline flight, fly Fair, managed to check in, and upgrade my luggage. And that was all done in the chat app, and I did it while I was in the airport, on the way to the airport. So providing absolute convenience. And consumers are more likely to see a brand's text than the emails that they send. So that says a lot about text messaging and messaging in general, is that it's more pervasive, and it's it's a far better channel than email.
Yeah, what we've seen, so last year, we, in our 2022 A2P messaging survey, we went out to 6,500 people around the world, 650 people in 10 different countries. This year, we're expanding our research. Pleased to know we're adding South Africa as well to the mix, which is good for our research this year. And we came out, we were looking at all the channels people use or people on the receiving end of when it comes to business messaging, and still leading the way at the moment is email in terms of the number of transactions. But that doesn't, because it's used technically the most of any, doesn't mean it's the most effective. But when you stack together SMS with chat apps, then it is bigger than email when it comes to business to consumer transactions in messaging. So email is still around. It does have its uses, that's proven. It's not going to disappear overnight, but its effectiveness is certainly in question from what we're seeing with a lot of research from different MEF members as well, and research organizations who are part of the MEF community too. But a lot of that decrease in email is coming at the expense, shall we say, of the strength of messaging, as you mentioned, Simon.
Look, James, I think you hit on it. The rotary phone stayed around a lot longer than it probably should have too, right? And so, I think as a society, or as individuals and businesses, we're hesitant to adapt because we want to see what others are going to do. But there's what is it, 10%, 15% open rate on email messages right now. I mean, at best, right? So your open rates maybe 20%. We're still seeing on mobile the open rates with SMS messages or WhatsApp messages. You're still at an 80% open rate, and not to mention, you're right there. They've got their mobile phone. They're looking at it. We're not in our email every single day. And so there is this transformation that I believe is taking place. And I think the conversations are being had within marketing groups of organizations. I know when I speak to different people, that the marketing departments are actually saying, look, can we get a higher conversion rate, even if we're spending more on mobile messaging? Because our open rate with our emails, it's not that great, and our conversion rates aren't that great. If you just look at mobile commerce in general, and you look at individuals who are out shopping, like you've got a myriad of different retailers. Let's just talk retail for a minute. I shop at Nordstrom's, I shop at Saks, I shop at Dillard's or whatever. Many of those businesses have the same product, they have the same retail line. So it's easy to go out and shop and see who's got a little bit better of a price. But if you have shopping cart abandonment, which takes place because somebody goes and checks out and they look and they're like, oh, you know what, maybe I can get this a little bit cheaper somewhere else. Well, if you're not back, if you're not getting FaceTime with that individual who just left, you're not sending links out or a chat to pay link that says, hey, come back, we noticed you haven't, you didn't check out. There's here's 5%, here's an additional 10%, here's additional 15% off, come out and check, come back and check out and give us a chance to earn your business. Then you're missing that business. Somebody else is picking up that business. And so you're ultimately losing revenue. And so the ability for them to interact and have FaceTime immediately by just, simple sending a chat to pay link to your mobile phone that says, hey, come back. You know what? The fact that you're talking to me and you know who I am as a person makes me feel good. It makes me like, oh, all right. Just a quick story. I was at Nordstrom's the other day. I forgot my Nordstrom's credit card. I had everything but my Nordstrom's credit card. And the lady says, well, do you have your mobile phone? I said, yes, I have. Of course. I mean, we carry our mobile phone with us more than we take anything else around with us. And she says, well, just scan the QR code. Scan the QR code. I typed in my birth date and gave them the last 4 digits of my Social Security. All my information came up, my credit line and everything else. And all I had to do was click a button. And once I wanted to purchase what I had put the lady at the cash register had scanned, all I had to do was scan that QR code. The transaction was completely done. And then I got a thank you notification sent about 24 hours later, along with some other links that said, hey, Mr. Williams, you might like these products, because it understood what I was buying because of the data in the background, and said, hey, you know what, you might want to look at these shoes or this. Now we're talking personalization. Now we're talking relevancy. Now we're talking magical moments that make me want to become a loyalist, because we all know that there's first-time buyers, second-time buyers, and then the third-time buyer is actually a loyalist. If you can't convert that second-time buyer to the loyalist, or you can't get the first to the second, then you've lost them elsewhere. And the ability to chat via e-commerce allows for retailers, or whatever vertical you're in, to connect in a personal way with that consumer and create a magical moment with the individual who's on the other end who wants to buy from you. If you're not creating magical moments, somebody else will, and that customer will go to that other retailer or whoever it might be, and you've lost them. And then you see product in your shopping cart that just sits there, and you're wondering why you didn't convert.
Thanks, Justin. And I think just to add something, we were speaking about messaging. Messaging is still one of the most pervasive ways to reach customers. 98% open rates, and you have a 45% response rate versus email. But just something else that Justin also brings up is when we talk about rich messaging, we also talk about the experience being richer for the consumer. We talk about the experience being actually more contextual. And then actually I've seen some chat deployments, some more advanced chat deployments where, you can combine a little bit of AI to deliver contextual experience. So for example, the customer will be typing, and, the chat engine can actually pick up whether the customer's frustrated. And right there and then, you can go and deliver a coupon or voucher to the customer because the customer's upset, or you already have the data and you can see that he's recently bought a product. So as the person's typing, it's like, hey, notice that you're upset. So, you start seeing richer contextual user journeys that will convert the customer to being a loyalist and a customer that stays. And I think the brands that really go out and deploy business messaging in a smart way are the ones that are going to really convert those customers to be long-time customers and increase lifetime value of their customers.
Simon, can I just mention something about the business messaging? Because we're all talking about conversations and everyone moving to conversations. That means two-way. That means two-way messaging. But what I'm seeing out there as well, and from having talked to MEF members and myself looking around and traveling around, is I think there's a real appetite in general for richer messaging, whether it's two-way or actually one-way, because there's a big train of thought thinking, okay, if it's just something transactional, so here's confirmation of your doctor's appointment, or here's confirmation of the hotel booking or restaurant booking, then do you know what? We can deliver that simply via SMS. There's no need to reach for a channel which might have a commercial model at slight variance to SMS. So let's say SMS is 1x, the richer one might be 1.25x or 1.5x. For sending, let's say, a one-way message, but it's that richer element that really gets people's attention. It allows you to deliver maps, directions, perhaps a special offer to upsell something in that restaurant experience, in that hotel experience. So I think let's not forget as well that rich messaging is great also for those transactional, where it's a single message as well. And people keep forgetting that.
Yeah, so I think that's a great point, James. I think we must not forget that the when we talk about rich messaging, we haven't left the important use cases behind. Your confirmation, your OTPs, where you need to confirm a transaction, or your ID. Some user journeys require a yes/no response. Others, if you're looking at a retail user journey where you're customizing what color your Nike shoe will be on checkout, that requires sort of interaction with a nice chat user flow. But yes, 100%. When we talk about rich journeys, there is the two-way interaction between consumer and brand, and that's extremely important. Not forgetting that you'll have I would say you'd have a mix between sort of the notifications, the one-way confirmations, and when there's a two-way dialogue. And rich messaging on say WhatsApp or Apple Business, it allows for the two-way dialogue. It allows for the interaction and for a conversation in a 24-hour time frame. Okay, and then just something around calls to action in text messaging or in text, as we said before. Text messaging, 90% open rate. 90% of the messages are read in the first 3 minutes. And then you have a sort of 33% engagement rate. And what we're actually seeing from some of the chat commerce deployments and where we're doing measurement with our customers, we're seeing conversion rates as high as 20% with chat commerce. So, and then compared to SMS conversion rates, chat commerce is already looking like it's poised to surpass SMS conversion rates, specifically in the US. Moving over to rich messaging apps, I think one of the most exciting things for us as a company, as a brand, is the ability to deliver a transaction. And I think when we talk about SMS, if we look at SMS deployment in the US, started out with short codes. You have toll-free numbers. Now you've got the 10-digit long codes. But one of the most innovative things that we think we've done is to bring our product Chat to Pay to market, where we can securely deliver a secure payment link. Those countries there where 3D secure is required, secure payment checkout page will be presented and the customer can check out right there in chat. So if there's a payment transaction to be made, that's going to be done easily in chat. And I think this is something you didn't see a few years ago. You sort of had your e-commerce capabilities, on your website, and then, chatbots, which is chatbot. Now you actually have commerce messaging, which is talk to the customer, engage the customer, and then actually facilitate a transaction. And we're seeing huge success with this in our deployments. And it's also around, James, what you were saying. It's about actually delivering the right message at the right time, right? So, you know, another thing that consumers don't appreciate is dead user journeys, right? Where you're sort of typing, you know, you're engaging with a menu and you're like, help, as a silly example. And then it's like, how can I help you? So that's also a big no-no and a big trap there. Some companies have not done justice by deploying chat properly. But it's about delivering the right message at the right time. You know, when is it okay to ask, you know, name, surname, or well, that's personal information, but you know, some of it can be menu driven, and some of it can actually be done by buttons or things in chat. So the way to engage the customer in chat can be done in a variety of ways. And then obviously in terms of the use cases, can be about order confirmations, app registrations, your personal details, resubscription or re-opt-in, et cetera, et cetera.
I think it's also, Simon, at this point, it's also important to mention the absolute basics, irrespective of what rich channel you are using, the basics of what you think need to be done with SMS, they stand for all the rich messaging channels. Because I can think of an example, I won't mention the brand, but it's a very, very well-known luxury shower gel. I don't need the shampoo side of things from them, put it that way, but the shower gel brand here in the UK. And I got some for Christmas presents, really amazing products, and it's global, it's famous products. But those guys just have kept sending me so many messages, practically every second or third day in the run-up to Christmas. So I probably got 10 SMS within a month from them. So great business for whoever was carrying their traffic. Absolutely fantastic. But just too much. There's some great offers there, but there was just too much interaction. And even though I'm from the industry and I know what they're trying to achieve, it achieved a sale, they got my business, but there's just too many interactions. So frequency and timing are critical.
Very critical, James. And you know what? And I want to take you know, the business message ecosystem providers, like some Meta and Apple. They've done an amazing, and some of the other channels as well. All of them have done a great job in ensuring that the business rules, should I say, the commerce rules of engaging the customer. You can't just spam a customer, and the customer's in control. And I think that's a key thing, is that, you know, as long as your mobile device is on and you've opted in somewhere, or if your data wasn't stolen in a security breach, you know, you're going to get an SMS or some sort of campaign message. But I think, you know, when you have brand to consumer on chat, you're in complete control. You can stop, you can help, you can opt out, and also if you haven't taken part in a conversation in a 24-hour basis on some ecosystems, you know, that just regarded as a new conversation, for example. So business messaging has really gone, it's been really thought through to sort of making sure that the conversations are contextual for the time, etc. Agreed.
So I think really quick on that, Simon, if I may chime into on that business side, is if you look at the cost effectiveness of the rich, you know, that messaging channel, it's absolutely amazing. And then the insights that you get from it, and then the increased engagement that you get from it with your customers, it is going back, and you'll hear me say oftentimes, creating magical moments. Those are magical moments, not only for the consumer themselves, but for the retailer or whoever it is that's using the Apple Business Chat. And so that rich engagement really is kind of, it's interesting how they use rich. I think rich translates into, you know, magical moments that keep customers coming back time and time again, and that they're doing a fantastic job with it.
Yeah, I agree. We've actually got a question from the audience from Amelia Newsom-Davis. I know Amelia. Amelia runs messaging and payments for Orange France. And the question is, what market share will SMS retain versus rich messaging apps in the long term? Now, I can talk generally, but we're here talking about the USA specifically. Justin, can you shed any light from what you're feeling in the market Will SMS suffer at the hands of rich messaging, or is SMS traffic still growing, but it's just rich messaging traffic is growing faster than SMS? What are you seeing in the USA?
That's interesting, because I think SMS is still huge in North America, and I think it's going to continue to be. SMS needs to evolve, but if you look at WhatsApp, or you look at Google Business, or you look at Apple Business Chat, I mean, what they're doing from a technology perspective is off the charts insane. The adoption rate, I think, is increasing. The awareness of it probably isn't as great as it should be, I think, and Simon can speak to this, being in South Africa. I think Apple Business Chat and WhatsApp over in Europe and South Africa are probably growing, and I don't have any data to back this up, and so I'm going to defer back to Simon on this. But I think it's progressing much quicker in Europe than it is in North America. For WhatsApp, if you just look at the amount of users of WhatsApp in North America relative to what you see over in Europe, unless somebody in North America has a reason to engage with somebody internationally, they don't probably know even what WhatsApp actually is, or they haven't even become a user of it yet. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done in North America as it relates to Apple Business Chat, or whether it's Google. And so for that purpose, I think SMS is still going to be, for right now, it is probably what the default is going to be for most retailers, potentially even MMS. But that's kind of my sense right now. Simon, kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple of factors that will influence that. In some regions, text is more pervasive, or more, how do I say, it's the way of communicating. So I remember in 2018, I went to one of the first business messaging conferences hosted by Meta, and the stats there, and to your point, James, because people rather text than call, and there was a higher adoption rate, or a faster adoption rate of business messaging in the MEA region. But globally, if you look globally, SMS today is still the most pervasive channel out there in terms of reaching customers, in terms of reach, or to reach mobile devices. And I think different factors in different countries, smartphone adoption, if the smartphone adoption is accelerating, you might see a higher adoption, obviously, of brands converting consumers onto chat from other channels. We do a lot of work in Africa. And there you have customers engaging on USSD, for example, and they're, the journey from in some African regions, USSD to chat. So I think it's different. But one thing that resonates and is consistent is that SMS forms the base, whether it's a bank or financial services institution or telco. SMS is definitely here to stay for the long term.
Yeah, and I think to back that up a little bit, if you look at what the SMS open rate is, it's incredibly high. It's over 80%, right? I'm looking at some statistics right now that say the SMS rate is 98%. Maybe not, but I think by and large, it's still over 80%. And that indicates that SMS is going to be incredibly strong, and it's here to stay and probably not going to go.
Yeah, that stat of 98% first came out 10 years ago. It actually came out from member Mobile Squared, research company Mobile Squared. And they were, Simon, you spoke at our omnichannel messaging event, which we held in London last November, and I remember that panel. And Nick Lane from Mobile Squared was there and was showing us the trajectory of SMS SMS versus richer messaging. And today, in general, around the world, SMS accounts for, A2P SMS accounts for more than 90% of all business text transactions. And it's actually 93%, I think, and then 7% are the richer channels, and of that 7%, over half is WhatsApp. But what we're going to see is SMS growth. It's still growing because of the past couple of years and what happened during COVID. SMS growth was flattening, but actually kicked it up again. And that growth is continuing, but it's just that the richer messaging growth is much, much higher and faster. And WhatsApp is going to take a lot of that growth.
So it's interesting. The other day I was looking at, because if you're an Apple user, it'll give you what your usage is per day and per week, and you look at it, and oftentimes you're like, I need to do something better with my life other than play with this phone. But I ended up looking up, and I wanted to know, well, how many times on average does an individual look at their mobile phone on a daily basis? And James, I'm going to throw it out, and Simon, to you. How many times do you guys think you look at your phone on a daily basis?
150 times at least.
Of course, you would be close to the average number.
Because that's a USA
Simon?
market. That's a USA stat. I know. I think it was 160 or something. Yeah.
You know what? You're getting a prize later, because the number was 160. It's 160 times per day. That's absolutely insane.
I remember that. It's for for smartphone users.
For smartphone users.
Yeah, I know that stat. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's 160. I mean, that was about as bad as somebody asking me the other day, like, how many apps do you actually have on your phone? And I had to go count them twice. There's 115 apps on my phone. I mean, I encourage everybody in the audience, go count the number of apps that you have on your phone. It's mind-boggling. But yeah, 160 times a day. So if we're looking at our phone 160 times a day, and we times that by 7, I mean, there's no wonder why the open rate on SMS is 80% plus, or the 98% that I'm looking at right now. It is still going to be the powerhouse of messaging, I believe, for now and for quite some time, until somebody else does something a little bit different,
Yeah, well, one thing that hasn't been mentioned is the commercial model. And if you look at the USA, let's just say mobile network operators have set a very reasonable commercial model, even though the commercial model has changed and moved upwards of late in the USA. That upward shift has not been like that seen in many countries around the world. So considering the market, the commercial model for SMS is most reasonable indeed. And therefore, with that high open rate, like we're seeing 98%, the actual open rate has actually declined. We're hearing to, but bear with me, 55% or thereabouts. But the reality is it still is in the high 90s, because when we receive an SMS on a smartphone today, we can actually see it without actually clicking and opening it. When it comes in, we can see the content, particularly if we're looking for that one-time password, we can see it without actually opening that message. So there are many, many messages in the average person's smartphone, I'm talking about in particular handset, that actually never get opened, but actually have been read. Yeah. So there's that little anomaly there, but that commercial model in the USA makes it different from other countries such as Germany, where the commercial model is at a factor of perhaps 4x or 5x to what is in the USA.
Right. Interesting indeed.
Yeah, we've got a question actually. Simon, we've got Anza Robertson from Sam Media here, who said, fellow South African, who said, I've had the Fly South African Air, obviously, experience when recently in South Africa too. It's amazing. Is there a reason that the European airlines aren't adopting RCS for check-in, etc.? Is it to do with regulations?
So the question was, thank you for the report back. We also think the Fly South experience is wonderful. Thank you for the question. The question was around why
how come the European airlines aren't doing something similar in simple language using that messaging in general? Is it to do with regulations? What is it? What's your feeling?
I think it's just a case of just market shift and the brands making the step. I think RCS is available, and which in some markets and not in others. So in some markets there's a debate about whether RCS will be deployed or when it's going to be deployed. But essentially, it's just around service providers like ourselves getting in front of the brands, guiding and coaching the brands on how to deliver, chat to customers. And this is the way of the future. And here on screen here that I've shown you, we've got Telcom, which is a large telecommunication, and Flysafair, as you know, is an airline. So it can be deployed across a number of verticals. As to the perception of the slow adoption rate in Europe, I can't really comment on that because I don't have enough stats in front of me to
But what I can say, Ansel, and to everyone out there, is I think it was back in 2015, I seem to remember WhatsApp's first major international client for WhatsApp business messaging was actually KLM.
Correct.
So I remember that, and I remember when it came along, and I flew a lot with KLM from my local airport near Leeds out to Sweden and Switzerland, and I remember seeing that as an option for interacting with them, and it worked really well. So they were the first ones. It was KLM was the launch client for that. So more and more airlines have picked it up, and that was WhatsApp. But when it comes to RCS as well, chat app, I'm sure that will be picked up more and more as RCS access increases. Currently today, there are about 600 million handsets around the world which have access to RCS, but very soon, and definitely I think by the end of this year, that figure will be 1 billion or more. So we will see RCS, or more accurately, rich business messaging, become more mainstream for sure.
So in regards to the airlines, I was just at the SCIF conference in Dallas about a month ago, and the CEO from American Airlines, Delta Airlines, pretty much every single airline, including the regional airlines, they were all there. And it was a day where everybody got together and kind of conversed about what was happening in the airline industry and what wasn't happening in the airline industry. And Ansel, I see one of your questions and your question on Flysafair, and then your follow-up with American Airlines. Look, I've worked with airlines for probably 10 years. Airlines are the worst adopters of technology, and they're the first people to admit that they're slow at adopting technology. And I think we can see that from just recent events that have taken place in North America. But by and large, there's a huge emphasis on understanding how to interact or communicate or meet their customers on the channel in which their customers are conversing. And the sense was from that conference that there's skepticism around it because they don't exactly know how to do it. And so right now, I think you see a lot of airlines in this very early discovery stage of how do we do this and how do we do it right? Because we don't have the luxury of failing. And I think that there's some analysis by paralysis happening within the airlines, but I think you're going to start seeing in the next 12 months a significant change in momentum as it relates to what the airlines are doing with SMS or chatbots. Delta, and I'm an avid Delta Airlines. I've flown them for 15, 20 years. They've just moved to chatbot just recently. And if you go on the Delta website and you engage there, you'll kind of see what that experience looks like. And so they're trying it out, they're moving. And I think, again, you're going to see a huge shift in what the airlines are doing over the course of the next 12 months. As I think it's one of their number one priorities is to figure out what that engagement looks like and how to converse with their passengers.
Justin, can I just draw your attention to the chat, please? And we have someone called Carlos Torres on from the USA, from an enterprise, and he actually wants to talk to you guys about your messaging solutions. So if you can please chat to Carlos and get his details, go for it. This is what MEF is about. We've got live business being transacted potentially right here. Never had that on a webinar, but go for it.
Perfect. Thank you, Carlos. I'll give him my email address right now, and he can reach out. So by the way, if anybody wants to have a conversation, we don't have to have a sales conversation. We're just happy to have a conversation with anybody and everybody about what you're currently doing and how you're doing it or what you're not doing. So
Exactly. So we've got another question here from an anonymous attendee. It's not bad. I don't know why you stayed anonymous. It's not a bad one. It's a good question. Can SMS really provide the same rich experience as OTT apps, since the US is an OTT laggard, both content and having a rich conversation? What say you? Justin, Simon.
Justin, you want to take that one?
Can he
Sorry, Simon, I was
experience?
responding back to Carlos. I'm trying to be attentive to people who want to talk to us. So Simon, go ahead and take that and I'll do the follow-up on it.
Okay, sorry, James, the question is
can SMS really provide the same rich experience though as OTT apps, since the US is an OTT laggard? So basically, can SMS provide a rich experience? Because with SMS, you can have the ability to put links in there, and those links could perhaps take you to a video, anything like that. So that's an option. What do you think?
Yep. So SMS. So the first thing, it's the rich experiences can also be interpreted as having the two-way experience, the engagement. So for many short codes that are very well-designed programs have keywords with the right callbacks. And so you do have that interaction. It's a little bit slow because it requires a user to reply. And then we're also seeing, some MMS being brought to augment the SMS experience, if you like. So SMS plus MMS to augment the experience. But that's those are like, selected examples. But in no way is SMS two-way over a short code or some other protocol less richer. It's all about how the program is designed and how the inbound and the outbound messages are flowing between the consumer and brand.
And that's a good point. And what we haven't actually mentioned yet is video. The oldest channels out there are voice from 1876. And as soon as you had moving pictures, video, so that's well over 100 years old as well, you've had video. So video is used to fantastic effect by businesses to interact with their clients as well. And of course, if you have a link to a video, you can drop that very, very easily into an SMS as well. So let's not forget good old video as well.
Yep, and I know a company that is actually doing global work with telcos around the world and doing personalized videos, ads. And so then that way having personalization also adds to the richer brand. Remember, it's all about the contextual experience the user is deriving. So if that user is happy at the end of the transaction and he stays with the brand, that is considered a good experience for the consumer.
Fantastic. So Simon and Justin, believe it or not, we are just 4 minutes away from the close. It's amazing how fast an hour together really goes when we're in a live environment, particularly get some really good questions. Great to see some live business being transacted here, and your VP of Sales from North America in action, working there. So fantastic. And Carlos will be in touch with Justin, which is excellent. So thanks for that. Just some closing remarks for you. So we're talking here about the USA market and messaging as a whole, SMS as a whole. So Justin, from your perspective, you are in the USA, you are seeing it firsthand as a consumer as well. SMS, does it have a future in the USA? We know the volumes are increasing. How long do you personally feel that increase will continue? Because rich messaging surely has to come out large in the USA to take some of that growth away.
Gosh, I don't see it going away for quite some time. I mean, I wish I could read the future, because if I did, I mean, there's a lot of questions I could answer for everybody here and make everybody a whole hell of a lot of money. Unfortunately, I'm not a fortune teller, even with, I've got this little 8-ball thing, but that never ever plays out true. So I hate to predict anything, but SMS, for the foreseeable future, next 5-10 years, I believe SMS is, it's going to get better. Look, I think the adoption of, RCS is going to come on strong. I think that, the adoption curve is always slow at the beginning, and then it gets up to, you've got the laggards, right? You've got the laggards, and we're seeing that right now. And then you eventually get to the adoption side where people start adopting it, and then you've got the advocacy of it, and then it just blows up, right? For whatever reason, WhatsApp in North America isn't blowing up yet. And I think there's reasons for that. But by and large, SMS in North America and in Canada, I believe is going to continue to move forward. Is there a place for MMS? Sure, absolutely. Look, there's a place for everybody right now. And it's really kind of, what fits your business model, and are you doing business internationally? Are you in a North American business or doing business internationally? And if so, there's a huge play for it, for WhatsApp, for Apple Business Chat, and for Google. And so really, it's what are you doing? How are you doing it? What does your business case look like? If you're just sending stuff out in North America, SMS is going to be your thing. And if you're sending messages to Canada, SMS is probably going to be your thing. And so, here's what I say to everybody. Have conversations, whether it's with Clickatel or people internally, reach out to us. We're a great organization where we're not going to try selling you, but what we want to do is be consultants and help we've been in the business for 20 plus years, for a long time. And I believe we understand the business fairly well and where it's going. And so if you've got questions, gosh, don't be afraid to reach out to us and think you're going to get a sales pitch from us, because that's not what we're going to do. Let's help talk about what it is and what you need, and kind of have that conversation, because conversations lead to magical moments, whether that's with Clickatel or with it's another provider. I think what we want here is for people to adopt and find what works best for them. And if we can have influence in that, great. If we can't, we'll tell you where to go. And that's just kind of how we do it.
Justin, thank you. We've only got 30 seconds left. We've got two questions came flashing straight in here, immediately back as well. Should SMS use the same 24-hour conversational based billing model as the rich messaging solutions? Why not? It's a good discussion to have. We discussed SMS commercial models at our omni-channel events, and no doubt it will come up again during our events at MWC in Barcelona and business messaging event in April. So the answer is why not? And is it true that MMS is beginning to grow in the US market? If yes, then why? That's from Asher Trimble. We don't have time to answer that. We're all out of time, but the answer is yes. And MMS, Justin, can you respond to Asher? That would be great. Why not? But Simon, final word. We're a bit over, a few seconds over. Simon, final word from you. You are the sponsor of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. Yeah, we're extremely bullish about growth in the US market. We have the right products and solutions to grow for brands. And we're just extremely excited about the chat commerce in general. It's just so exciting.
Fantastic. Yeah. And finally, last thing before I leave you all, will this presentation be available for download? So is it possible? Can you make that available for members?
I believe we can. I believe we can.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you very much. And there we go. Emails for Simon and Justin. No problem. I can connect you all offline anyway. Thank you all for watching. Appreciated. Thank you to Clickatel for sponsoring. James Williams from the Mobile Ecosystem Forum, over and out, and I'm sure I will see you very, very soon, either online or for real. All the best, and thank you for your time. Bye.
Thanks, James, everyone.
Bye. Thank you, James. Bye-bye.
Well.